Welcome to the One Year Book of Mormon. A non-Mormon reads through the Book of Mormon. Mosiah chapter 24 and 25. Chapter 24 overview. The Lamanites have taken over the lands of Shimlon, Shilom, and Amulon, and apparently Helam, but it appears that Joseph Smith forgot to include this one, and put the wicked priest Amulon and his brethren as teachers over the Lamanites, teaching them the language of the Nephites and writing. The Lamanites become rich, cunning, and wise in the wisdom of the world, while Amulon begins to persecute Alma and his brethren, commanding that those who pray to God will be killed. God miraculously makes the burdens of Alma and his brethren light. Then, after some more time, ultimately sends a deep sleep on the Lamanite guards, so that Alma and company escape and wind up in the land of Zarahemla, where they are received with joy. Other than the narrative itself, as summarized above, there isn't much to talk about in this chapter. In verse 4, it says in part, "Thus the language of Nephi began to be taught among all the people of the Lamanites." The problem here is that Nephi and Laman were brothers, so they should all have had the same language. While there might have been some slight changes in 4 or 5 centuries, I doubt there could have been enough to make it so that they would need to be taught another language. Oddly, the end of this chapter in the modern chapter and verse system is the middle of a paragraph in the 1830 version. Usually, the modern chapter divisions are at least at the end of paragraphs in the 1830 rather than in the middle of them. Since this chapter is so short, we'll move into chapter 25. The overview for that is Mosiah calls an assembly of all the people of Zarahemla and reads them the accounts of the people who have just come to Zarahemla. The account of Zenith and of Alma. Somehow, some of the children of the wicked priest, Amulon and his brethren, are here in the crowd, and they want to be called Nephites, being ashamed of what their ancestors, the Lamanites and the wicked priests, had done. Mosiah then calls on Alma to speak to the people, which he did, apparently in large groups, not as a single unit, as Mosiah had done, and the people are baptized, and Mosiah lets Alma establish churches throughout Zarahemla and ordain priests and teachers, because the people were too numerous for a single church. Verse 2 in the 1830 Book of Mormon says Mulok, M-U-L-O-K, while the modern says Mulek, M-U-L-E-K. Of course, this could be a printer's error and have nothing to do with the original manuscript, but it stuck out at me. Verse 3 says, "And there were not so many of the people of Nephi and of the people of Zarahemla as there were of the Lamanites, yea, they were not half so numerous." So apparently the Lamanites outnumbered the group of Nephites plus Zarahemlites more than 2 to 1, which is odd because I thought that God would bless the good people and curse the bad people. But here it seems like the Lamanites are the more blessed. Verse 4 tells us that all the people of Nephi were assembled together, and also all the people of Zarahemla, and they were gathered together in 2 bodies, which must mean that the people of Nephi were one body and the people of Zarahemla the other body. But then verse 13 says that the people of Zarahemla were numbered with the Nephites because they had said that none but a descendant of Nephi could be their king. Of course, this is inconsistent because I don't recall it ever being said that Mosiah was a descendant of Nephi. He just pops up out of nowhere with no lineage or genealogy given. Also, why do they even have kings when God said not to? But I digress. Verse 19 says in part that Mosiah gave Alma power to ordain priests and teachers over every church, which sounds like it was borrowed or plagiarized from Paul's instructions to Timothy to ordain elders in every church. Verse 22 says in part, "There was nothing preached in all the churches except it were repentance and faith in God." This sounds like the only thing that is necessary to be called a true church is to preach repentance and faith in God, which would make all non-Mormon Christian churches true churches. And finally, verse 23 says that there were 7 churches in Zarahemla, which of course harkens back to the future book of Revelation and the 7 churches of Asia.